Learning something new is a lot like going on a long walk. We need to plan our path before we start. The first step is called getting ready or looking things up before we start learning. We need to find out what we need to learn, the order to learn it, and how we're going to learn it. For example, if you're learning a new language, you ask what the most important parts are and how best to learn them. Usually, it's about how to talk in that language and practicing talking with others. For math or engineering, it's usually about how to solve problems and then actually solving them. You also need to know which topics you should learn first because they help you understand other topics later. If you don't know basic math, then learning harder math like calculus or algebra isn't a good idea yet. And if you can't make simple sentences in a new language, then trying to write poetry in that language will be too hard. But there's a tricky part. Getting ready and planning your learning can be fun and make your learning better, but it can also make you put off actually starting to learn. Dreaming about being an expert is fun, but it's not the same as really learning. So you should give yourself a deadline to stop planning and start doing. Depending on how big your learning project is, don't spend more than 10% of your time just planning. This helps make sure you're ready, but it also gets you started on actually learning. Before, I talked about how learning in the right way can really make a difference. You can either learn a lot quickly or spend years without getting much out of it. There are 3 big ideas behind learning well: staying focused, being goal-oriented, and practicing a lot. These ideas are super important for learning anything new. I always talk about staying focused because it's super important. Being focused or not focused is like the difference between seeing clearly and seeing blurry. If you don't stay focused, everything takes longer, doesn't work as well, and isn't as fun. To stay focused, you need to get rid of distractions like your phone, TV, or noisy siblings. Stop worrying too much and practice focusing. Start small by giving yourself 1 hour a day where you have no distractions and increase it with time as you get better. Improving your focus is like building muscle. Consistency is king, so keep at it. This will help you to learn effectively, even if you're busy with other things like a job or school. Next, let's talk about being goal-oriented. Our brains aren't great at using what we learn in new situations. For example, even if you're really good at math, it doesn't mean you'll automatically be good at guessing chances or probabilities. And reading lots of books doesn't mean you'll be amazing on stage without practice. We learn for specific reasons, like passing a test, talking to someone in their language, writing an awesome paper, or just wanting to know a lot about something like Napoleon just for fun. It's important to practice in situations that are as close as possible to what you want to achieve. Instead of just studying with flashcards, you could practice by writing an essay from memory, which helps more. Make sure your study habits match up with what you want to do with your knowledge. If not, you might end up wasting time and not reaching your goals. We need to talk about practicing a lot on the things we're not good at. Imagine you're trying to learn a new language but can't remember enough words. Or you're trying to code but don't really understand the basics of Python. First, you find out what you're not good at. Then, you practice just that thing a lot so you get better at it. Learning something new means getting better at lots of different parts of it so you can reach your goal. If one part is much harder for you, it's like a roadblock stopping you from getting to where you want to be. So you might spend extra time remembering new words or understanding the basics of coding before you go back to your main practice. It's like a loop. Practice, find out what's hard, practice that part a lot, and then go back to the main practice. Keep doing this until you're really good at what you want to learn. If you keep your focus, practice the right way, and work hard on the parts that are tough for you, you'll get better much faster. And if you do this for every little part of what you're learning, you'll become an expert. It won't happen overnight, but try to become 1% better every day. I've talked to some really smart people, like a mathematician who could just look at a problem and know if it could be solved, or a musician who could look at music and know who wrote it. These people are super smart, not just because they learned a lot, but because they understand their subjects so well, they don't even have to think hard about them. Some people think intuition is just guessing, but it's actually when you know so much about something, you can understand things really quickly. That's the kind of skill you can get if you follow this way of learning. You'll be able to think of new ideas and maybe even change the subject you're studying. But getting there takes a lot of hard work.